Right, to start right at the beginning of my career, this is 1972. These three pieces, elemental kind of shapes, I referred to them as at the time as handbags, but they're minimalist, proto-minimalist, I think. Three cubes with three basic kind of square, circle, kind of triangle kind of handles. This is studio pottery. This is the language of studio pottery. It's about kind of recognizable features. They might be abstracted here, but there are handles, there are edges, there are containers, there are voids. They are about kind of a formal language of pottery, but we would struggle to know what their function was. But they refer to kind of maybe weights, or kind of, it was very much kind of, when I made these, I was going against the prevailing aesthetic of lightness. So they were deliberately heavily made. They're chunky. They're not elegant. They're basic. We're moving on to 1980, and this is a piece called K Teapot. It's more of a symbol than kind of a pot. It's a homage to a cartoon character called Crazy Cat. Crazy Cat was an invention of a man called George Harriman, and it was syndicated in American newspapers between the First and Second World Wars. I recommend, if you can ever see, there's quite a few anthologies, books. They're beautiful kind of cartoons. They're kind of they're very surreal. They're humorous, but it's a surreal humor. Okay, so this is my homage to it. It's blatantly not functional. It's a symbol. It's a cartoon drawing of a teapot made three-dimensional. So it's a subject. Becomes a subject. Right. Okay. It's not in isolation. They kind of what I mean by that, kind of in the 1980s, there were ceramicist potters, whatever you want to call them. At that time, where the teapot, I took part in countless kind of teapot exhibitions, and it was a subject. It was something that kind of a curator's exhibition organisers loved. You know, oh, let's have a teapot exhibition. So people made lots of different kind of teapots. I think that actually kind of freed up ceramics quite a bit, because these kind of 50% of them wouldn't work. Really, they were like a national symbol. I think they kind of a British teapot.
For me, you know, Tupperware, it sits in a room, it collects. You can see that particularly tobacco-stained piece on the left hand. I mean, that for me is just classic. It's skin. I mean, it's a piece of Tupperware that actually is older than me. I in fact had the head of Tupperware in England come and archive my collection once for a show, and that was dated as I think, yeah, 1964 or something. But it's aged, it's taken on the smell of the room, the tobacco, the grease, it's taken on everything, it's kind of absorbed it. So I was really interested in showing them warts and all, but also kind of quite gloriously as well. So the actual compositions are part of my interest in still life, which is that nothing ever really is still. And I kind of love the idea that you make still, I'm interested in things that aren't static, and a lot of my sculptures have movement, development, change, as you'll see. There's a lot of, you know, but they also have that kind of formal quality of a still life.
Well, when you asked about the jewelry and you said, well, why would it be bigger? Well, the reason in the card democracy that I'm interested in being jewelry, because I think it provokes the viewer in a different way if it was a sculpture. Of what you commonly know as jewelry or decoration, and then you start to imagine, would you wear this? How would you wear it? How would it affect your identity? How would it affect the way you feel? So I think what I'm finding more and more is interesting with jewelry as a unique art form, because I like to be more provocative, is that people are, with sculpture, you're provoked all the time. And with jewelry, I think it's this little opening that you can sometimes trap people because they're not used to dealing with these issues with jewelry. So I think just a big cardboard dipped in paint as a sculpture, it's a nice object, but the context is completely different for me than if you had to wear this on your body. And as far as, do I want to be called a jeweler? I'm not a jeweler, but I do feel like I'm an artist that uses jewelry as a visual form of communication.
You say, for instance, that when you want to provoke and with the big pieces and so on, and I think it's also, there is this possibility that you make a piece of jewelry and then somebody's wearing it, and then another one comes and makes the effort to approach and see, and then it gets maybe more in a different way than just having it, and then it can be like 5 meters far, and then you see it, and then maybe you don't have the need to approach it at the time. The person, I think it's also interesting when it comes this very intimate thing, which can also be with a big thing, of course, and then also I like the fact that I'm a jeweler, that I'm a jewelry maker.
Part of yourself, and you start looking at it, and I think that's, I really like that very
And there's
much.
something so interesting about what happens in at that moment when you put the perspex lid on something, because and I was kind of dreading it because like you don't normally have anything behind it, just like sort of anti-conventional display in the way this would usually work, but somehow that kind of there's something about the quality of the material, the gloss, the thick thing, that it makes it sort of all of a sudden this thing just kind of goes ping, and also yes, it what it does is it detaches itself from that particular kind of experience.